Hello everybody. Welcome back to another session on Python programming. We were actually discussing concept of functions, but we had diverted the topic in between and we had went ahead discussing the turtle, the graphics programming for fun time. And we had built we had designed some applications and also explored some graphic commands. It's time for us to go back to concept of functions once again. But before I go ahead with concept of function, have you, those who were present last time, have you implemented the code that I had given? The task that I was given? Like always, Ashish has submitted. Pardon?
Those files were not shared.
That doesn't really matter, na? Documentation hai, commands were discussed.
Sir, वो याद रखने के लिए मैंने लिखा.
Documentation is there, turtle documentation is there. All command list is available. So you don't have to memorize every command. Agar file de bhi do, you don't have to memorize the commands. Right from day one of the Python course, we have been looking at documentation, haven't we? Python.org. There is Python documentation. You go to Python doc, you type in turtle, and you get all the commands for turtle. Everything that one needs to know. Everything is there. Which is the command that will not be available? Every command that I discussed will be available here. Everything. That cannot be an excuse. How about others? Prithviraj, what happened? Hello, Prithviraj?
Hello.
Yeah. Where is your file?
No, I did not do.
Why is that? That's a lame excuse. I want it today itself. Okay. Ashish will discuss your implementation tomorrow. Let these two guys who were present yesterday come. And Ashish, आपने एक ही किया complete? आशीष स्क्वायर का क्या हुआ?
सर वो नहीं आया मुझे.
नहीं आया नहीं, गलत आ जाए मुझे कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, मुझे कोड चाहिए, वो गलत भी रहेगा तो भी चलेगा. Some variation will get na. What will happen more? You will have to have some kind of variation. I want 3 of you to submit your code for the tomorrow session. It is not acceptable कि आप नहीं लिख के आओगे. That is not acceptable. Prithviraj, Viraj and Ashish. Others need to watch the videos and then submit the code. Yes, Ashish. कल होगा ना कब सबमिट कोड?
Yes.
कल
चाहिए मुझे. Okay. Now let's come back to our topic of functions. In the previous session, when Harsh was there with us, we had discussed concept of functions, and I had promised that we'll continue things when he joins in again. So what we had discussed by that time was the basic design of functions, and then we took a lot of examples. We also talked about return statements which are there. We also talked about how to give a call to a function. So what is that we're going to discuss today? We're going to go back to concept of function calls and discuss in detail how in different ways we can actually give a call. Rather, how are the parameters passed to the function in different ways? How are they received? How are the arguments passed and how the parameters receive those arguments that have been passed? That is precisely what we're going to discuss, because Python has some very interesting mechanisms as to how to pass the data to the function or how to receive it when it's been passed to a function. So let's jump ahead with the topic of function parameters. So I'll go through the presentation like always. We are talking about function calls. Now, when we use this def as a keyword, it's just a way we are saying, okay, I have defined a function. It does not call a function. It is a definition. It actually, when that code runs, it actually defines a function. It doesn't call a function. After the def has run, you can call or run the function. You can say call, some say run, some say execute a function. So call, run, execute, all are the same thing for us. Is the screen visible?
Yes, sir.
Am I visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay. After the def has run, you can call a function in the program by adding parentheses after the function name. Now that's a compulsion in almost every language. when we define a function, we always have this parenthesis. That parenthesis tells us, okay, this is a this identifier defines a function. It will receive some data that you're going to pass. The parameters may optionally contain one or more object arguments to be passed assigned to the names in the function's header. Now, the names in the function header are nothing but your function parameters. They are nothing but your function parameters. They're going to receive the data that you're going to pass. They're going to receive the data that you're going to pass. Now, when we give a call to a function, when we pass the data, there are different types of arguments that you can come with. One is the positional argument, there is a keyword argument. And that's precisely what we're going to talk about first. The difference between positional and keyword arguments. The function's argument can be passed as positional argument or keyword argument. Using positional argument requires that argument be passed in the same order as their respective parameters in the function header. That means it's compulsory for us to pass the arguments in the same order in which your parameters are going to receive them. The order has to be maintained. You like it, you don't like it. The arguments must match the parameters in the order, number, and compatibility type. That means if I'm going to pass a string and an integer and a float, I have to pass them in the same order. If I'm going to pass 3 arguments, I have to pass exactly the 3 arguments. And third thing, it says the type should also be matching. So the number, type, and the order, all of that matters. I'm just putting on my additional screen so that otherwise looking down is creating a problem for me. Okay, so those 3 things actually matter for us. Arguments must match the parameters, order, number, and number as defined in the function header. Now, if you look at this particular function, this function's name is print n times. Just give me a second. I'll just turn off one screen. So what will happen is I will be in a position to just give me a second. Finding it difficult. It's saying restart spider. Let's restart spider since they are suggesting. Okay. So if you look at this particular example that has been taken over here, we have a function called as print n times. We have a function called as print n times. I have message and number. Message is of type string and n is of type integer, the number. I say for I in the range, that means this message has to be printed that many number of times. So if I pass 2 arguments, that too in the correct order, that means if I pass a string and an integer, it will work correctly. But if I pass integer and string, that will fail. Because the first argument expected was a string and second one was expected as an integer, because the range of string will actually fail. And so here, positional means the first argument should receive the first parameter, the second argument should be receiving the second parameter, and so on. So the number, order, everything should match. Now, keeping this thing in mind, let's look at an example that will highlight this particular concern for us. Let's close all these turtle examples and jump ahead with functions. This is an example that we have been talking about. Okay. So we have a function called as print n times that takes a message which is a string type, and it takes times, that means the number of occurrence, that's of type integer. Objective is to print your message that many number of times. So when I pass this integer times, we convert this integer and we say range. So for I in the range, suppose you pass 5, so I'll say for I in the range 5. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So 5 times I'm going to print that message. This function returns nothing. So return type is none. And then we start. We say, hi Shakil, and I pass 5. I say, hi Amir, I pass 5.0. No worries. Even if I pass for 5.0, we are anyway converting it to an integer. So both these things will give us right result. So when I run this particular code, first time look at over here, we have 5 times Shakil, and we have 5 times Amir also. Hi Amir, hi Amir, hi Amir. We have greeted those fellows. Whatever is the string, we are just greeting. Or I could have the message over here. What is the message? I say, hi Amir. I say, hi Amir, how are you? Hi Amir, how are you? How are you? What is the message? So that message would get printed that many number of times. So hi Shakil, hi Amir, how are you? So the message has got printed 5 times. The point is, the first argument that we're passing is a string. The parameter here is also of type string. The second argument that we are passing is integer. The parameter here is also of type integer. So it has worked out right. But what if instead of giving the call in this particular fashion, which is the right way to do it, had I given a call in this fashion? I pass in and I pass 5 and hi Geeta. The order I have changed. I pass integer first and a string. So in positional parameter, order is important, number is important, and compatible type is important. Now here I change the order. I'm passing integer and string. But where I'm supposed to pass first string and second integer, I'm passing first integer and second string. And if I go on to run this code, it generates an error. Where did it generate an error? 5 was received in message. Hi Geeta was received in times. And then when I say when range of int of hi Geeta, so that has failed. So it has generated an error. So order was very important. So order is incorrect. So order is important. In the next case, what I do is I pass incorrect number of arguments. I pass impetus 5 and 4.5. And a function is expecting you to pass only 2 arguments. And what you're doing is you're passing 3 arguments. So number is also important. The number, order, and compatibility type. 3 things are important. So here I change the number. So it says print n times function takes 2 positional arguments, and 3 were given. तो ज्यादा भी नहीं दे सकते और कम भी नहीं दे सकते. So here, if I pass less arguments, I pass only 1 argument, that would also generate an error. So when I run this, it says print n times missing 1 required positional argument, that is times. That means you are not supplied the value for this times. Now we'll add the documentation comment to this so that the user is aware as to what this particular function does. How come I cannot see myself? My video is off. Audio, can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Video is also on.
Video is also on.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me add a documentation comment over here. So this is a function. The parameter over here is a string, and I add description. The message to be printed and times the number of times the message will be printed. And what it returns? None. Nothing. So it doesn't return anything. So you don't have to give any description about it. That's good enough. So that's a documentation string that we have created for this particular function. Okay. So that's the documentation string, and we had all learned about documentation string. For a moment, I'll just hide it, but that's the documentation string. So it is generating error since we have not passed correct number of arguments. Look at the message. Yeah? The message tells you everything. It says print n time missing, 1 required position argument times is missing. So you are expecting 2 arguments, and waiting you have passed only a single argument. So it is very clear as to what is missing and so on. So that was about positional argument. So in positional argument, when you give a call to such a function where there are these arguments which are there, while giving a call, you have to ensure that the number of arguments is correct. That means if the function is expecting two arguments, you have to pass two arguments, neither more, neither less. The order of the argument has to be correct. The type has to be compatible. All those things you have to keep up in mind while you give a call to the function. The first two calls were perfect. There is nothing wrong in this, and there is nothing wrong over here as well. So let's run these two calls and see once again. Here, this is working right because over here, the first string, second is integer, first string, second is float. Now, float, you are expecting integer, we are passing float. Compatible hai. Integer float can be converted to integer. So I had used the word compatible. If you remember here, I had used the word compatible. The argument must match the parameters in the order, number, and compatibility type. So floating point is like integer, so compatible hai. So compatible type as defined in the function header. So this is something that you have to keep in mind while you are designing function where the arguments are passed with as positional arguments. So these are all positional arguments. We could also go in for the other kind of arguments, and that we'll see as we go ahead. The next one that we'll look into is the keyword arguments. Have you all understood this? Any question? Yes, any query, anybody?
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. I'm just sharing the file with you all. For some reason, constantly, I cannot see myself only. Okay, doesn't matter if I can't see myself. Let me share this example with you. Have you received the example?
Yes, sir.
So function positional argument is what we are seeing. Let's jump onto the other problem that is there. First, we'll discuss a problem so that you'll appreciate the solution that we'll actually have. So because a lot of times what happens is if I come up with a concept and you are not, you haven't faced the problem, you will not really appreciate the solution either. So let's look at the problem and then think about what is the solution for that issue. Let me open up an example. Here is a simple and a very nice example to highlight on the issue that we may really face. So let me jump ahead with an example to help you understand this concept. Here we go. I decide to write a function to calculate simple interest. And I hope all of you are aware of how to calculate simple interest. So if I have to calculate simple interest, we need three things. We need the principal amount, the number of years, and rate of interest. These are three things that we need if I have to actually calculate simple interest. So let's see as to how we can go ahead calculating simple interest. So I write a simple function called as get simple interest. So this particular function should take in three arguments. Okay, this function should take in three arguments: the principal amount, number of years, and rate of interest. And using the data, it should actually calculate the simple interest that is to be paid. And you all remember the formula for simple interest. It's PNR divided by 100, principal amount into number of years into rate of interest divided by 100. So having understood this thing, let's have a look at this particular example. Here you go. I have a function called as get simple interest. I have not added documentation comment. Actually, you should make it a practice that every function you should add a documentation comment. You could hide it. Huh? So there's always a chance for us to hide that data. So I say 3 dots and I say 3 quotes and I say documentation comment. And the first argument kya hai, second argument kya, principal amount. The principal amount invested in rupees, correct? Then interest
सर
rate.
ये जो सर कमेंट का जो है डॉक्यूमेंटेशन का ये बस स्पाइडर में ही मतलब ऑटोमेटिकली आता है और या फिर
ऑटोमेटिकली आ जाता है स्पाइडर में, बट अदरवाइज भी लिखने में कितना टाइम लगेगा? 3 डॉट्स तो डालने, 3 कोट्स
बस एज कमेंट करके लिखेंगे तो वो ऑटोमेटिकली ये कर
ऐसे
लेगा
कमेंट करना है, ऐसे डालना होगा, मल्टीलाइन स्ट्रिंग डालना है।
ओके
ओके, नीचे इसका फॉर्मेट जो रहे, ये पाइथन, ये स्पाइडर का स्टाइल है, बट दैट्स नॉट बी द केस। आप अपने तरीके से लिख सकते हैं। I love this because it first talks about parameters, then it says about return type, so it just becomes more easy to understand more about the function. तो इंटरेस्ट रेट का टाइप क्या है? तो फ्लोट है। डिस्क्रिप्शन क्या है? द interest rate per annum for the investment, and years क्या है? The number of years. नहीं तो somebody may be investing only for 5 days, he passes 5 expecting कि उतने उतने पैसे 5 दिन में मिलने वाले। No, it's for years. The number of years for which the investment is made. रिटर्न क्या करता है? सिंपल इंटरेस्ट। So it returns simple interest. You may also be wondering इसका काम क्या है? So if I have defined this particular function and for some reason you forgot what this function does, हो सकता है sometimes. So you could find out the documentation. Last time we had seen how to get the documentation for that function. Let me hide this and watch it over here what I'm doing. I could just say the name of the function is get simple interest. Get simple interest. That's the name of the function. Dot dunder dot dunder. If I say dunder dot dunder, it will give me the details. Okay, I should rather say print, so it is in more readable format. It's a raw string that got printed. Let's say print. Here, it tells you everything about that function. So sometimes you may forget what that function does, and so this is how you can actually jump and look into the details of the function. What is that function doing? So you'll get the enough information, and this is true with all functions, even all predefined functions as well. You may have used some string functions and you don't remember what the string function does. We could just say print str dot to, याद नहीं आ रहा था ये फंक्शन क्या करता है। Oh sorry, str dot to upper dot dunder doc dunder. Now str में to upper नहीं, upper है. To upper is in some other language. Upper returns a copy of the string converted to uppercase. You immediately get the documentation. Okay, so you may use this style of parameters and anything, or you may just give a simple plain message. You had used math.factorial if you remember. So I could just say, ये जो math.factorial है, I don't know what it does. या math.fabs कभी हमने use किया था. FABS क्या था हमने FABS? या नहीं क्या? FABS था या क्या था? अच्छा, import math नहीं किया यार. We should read what the message is. Import math. and method. It returns the absolute value of a floating point value x. So it immediately gives us what that particular function does. So now for the user-defined function as well, we can create such documentation. That's precisely what we have done. So what does this function do? You pass principal amount, interest, and rate of years. It will return you a floating point value. So I'm saying principal P and R divided by 100. That's the value to return. So I'm directly going to jump to this particular line in the program and go ahead with the execution. So let's debug this particular code from this line. Okay. We are here. We say get simple interest. That's the function that we would like to execute. So we are actually giving a call to that particular function, get simple interest. So let's jump what happens. Here we go. Now, when we come over here, look at the variables. Watch it. Interest rate has received value 10. That's correct. Principal amount has received value 1000. That's correct. Number of years is 2. That's correct. Tino values sahi hai. Since all the three values are right, it will return the correct value that gets stored into a variable called as interest, and we print the simple interest, and that correctly gets printed. We print the simple interest and that correctly gets printed. Watch it, the interest has been correctly printed. In simple interest rupees 200. That's correct. If I invest 1000 rupees at the rate of 10% for 2 years, you're going to get 200 rupees. That's a simple interest. This time I do something wrong. I passed 1010. Oh, you may say the same thing. Huh? I'm going to invest for 2 years, 1000 rupees at the rate of 10%. So accordingly, according to you, you are correct. You are passing the three required arguments, whichever is there. But then they are not in the right order. Since they are not in the right order, it will not generate any error, but it will give you an unexpected result. So here it ends up giving you a result as, let's see what result does it give you. How much is the amount they're going to get? Oh, you got 200 rupees once again. You are happy because PNR, principal into rate of interest in number of years, in whatever order you pass, you're still going to get the same value. Then you may say, sir, order is immaterial. Sometimes it may appear to you that order is immaterial. Let's do a third order. I pass 100, 2, and 1000. Now, 10. I'm going to invest at the rate of 10% for 2 years, and that's amount. But amount will get received in the years. It may still not bother you in this particular example. It may still not bother you. Look at that. So it says interest is 200. No, I did not really want that. Principal amount is 10 rupees, and you're going to invest for 1000 years. 1000 invest karke kaun lega wo paise? Who knows who will be there after 1000 years? But then you still get the right answer because the formula was such that you'll get the right answer. 200 is the answer that we have got. So you may form an opinion that order is immaterial. Because here, if I pass P and R or N, P, R or R, N, P, R is rate of interest, N is number of years, and P is principal amount. In whatever order I'm passing, I'm still getting the right answer. But don't form an opinion so early. Why? Because there are scenarios. Rather, most of the scenarios, this particular situation may not work. How may it may not work? We took a very simple example. Let's take one more example to understand. Does it really work? Is it really immaterial, the order in which we pass? Does it not have any significance, or the order that we pass? For that, let me take one more example now, just to focus on the same concept. Now, first time we calculated simple interest. Now I plan to calculate compound interest. And I hope all of you are familiar with the formula for compound interest. Yes or no? हाँ ना कुछ तो बोलो compound interest का formula. Okay. So most of you are aware. So it is P minus 1 plus R upon 100 raised to N. Correct? That's the formula. So let's calculate compound interest now and see what interesting things may happen when I'm going to calculate using, I'm going to write a function to carry out that particular operation. Let's see what happens. Close unnecessary windows. Here we go. I have a function called as get compound interest. Formula क्या है? P into 1 plus R divided by 100 raised to N minus P. A raised to N, raised to N minus P. That's our formula. So P is principal amount, R is rate of interest, N is number of years. So I implemented that principal amount into, you want only the compound interest, I could say principal amount minus this. This amount minus principal amount is what I could say. Principal amount into 1 plus interest rate divided by 100 raised to n. Look at that. For raised to, I have taken this operator. Okay, raised to n minus principal amount. So we are correctly returning only the principal amount. Okay, so minus p. That's the formula that we have implemented. So it's all looks right. Okay, so let's proceed from here, executing the code from here, and let's see what happens if I start executing. Source string cannot have a null. अरे यार ये क्या issue है? नीचे कोई कोई इशू है क्या? Let me save this as another file, or let me copy this particular function. Okay, let's execute it. हमें अपने कोड से मतलब है. Let's not get bothered. I'll say fun. I'll just call this as fun. I will change the name later. Okay, target component test. So that's the formula that we have implemented, and I explained the formula as well. Formula यहाँ था. Okay, formula is here. So using this formula, you're going to calculate. So I give a call to a function called as get component test. I pass 10,000. So I'm going to invest 10,000 at the rate of 10% for 2 years. And whatever value it returns, I'm going to print that value. Component test is rupees so and so. Correct? Formatted fashion. Ab dhyan do. I give a call from line number 15. I give a call from line number 15. We give a call. Look, interest rate is 10. Principal is 10,000. Years is 2. Perfect. Everything is right. So it goes inside. It does the calculation, returns the value, and returns some component rate, and that's 2100.0002, and it has printed the result. I have rounded up the value to print the result. When money is involved, we should rather have gone for decimal. So that's a correction that we can bring about. But let us focus on this concept of function calls. And then you may rewrite this function by using decimal. Because money is involved. Money hai, to decimal chahiye. Otherwise, ये देखिए memory क्या actually क्या store हो calculate करके आया answer 2100.0000000, and then there is 2 here. Can you see that? Everybody in the X variable explorer. We have rounded up, so we are lucky that we did not get that error. Otherwise, this 2 will be there. Anyway, now I say principal amount is 10,000. I say rate of interest is 10. The number of years is 2, and I pass P amount, rate of interest, and number of years. Oh, that's correct. Principal amount, interest rate, and years. So when I pass a variable, it's not the variable that gets passed, it's the value of the variable gets passed. So what will get passed is 10,000, 10, and 2 will get passed. So when I give a call to this particular function, we come over here, watch it, interest rate is still 10, principal amount is 10,000, principal amount is 10,000, whatever you have passed, and rate of interest is 10. That's perfect. And we go ahead calculating the rate of interest, it will give you the same correct answer. So here we go and print, we got the answer is 21,000, 2,100. Next time round, what I do is I pass 3 arguments, but I give them in the wrong order. I pass 2, 10, and 1,000. So when I pass 2, 10, 1,000, what does it mean now? So here we go. It says now your interest rate is 10%. That's okay. Luckily, your principal amount is 2 rupees, and yours is 1,000 years. That means you're going to invest 2 rupees at the rate of 10% for 1,000 years. So the meaning has totally changed. And now when we go on to do the calculation, the result will also be very different. The result will now be very different. Let's see what is the result. It is 4.9 into 10 raised to 41. If I want to print this particular result, this is the kind of interest that you're going to get. You will be the richest person on the earth, even richer than that. Look at the value that we have written. That's too big a value. And note I have used comma separator format में comma and then dot. Dot के round up करने के लिए here after decimal point, and comma is like to give 1,000 separators so that it is readable. But is this the kind of interest that you should get? But you are expecting 1,000 to be a rate of principal amount. You are expecting 10 to be the number of years, and 2 to be number of years, 10 to be the principal amount, the interest rate. But since you change the order, it has given you a very, very weird result. A wrong result is what we have got. So syntactically, it may be correct because you're expecting 3 arguments. So you have passed 3 arguments, but the number of arguments should match. That's perfect. The order should also match. Here, the order is not right. First argument parameter is principal amount, and what you are passing over here is the number of years. Second one is the interest rate, luckily that you have passed correctly. And the third one was years in which you have passed the principal amount, and things have gone really very wrong. Had it been 10,000, like what it was earlier, it could be a scary kind of result that we'll have. If I run this particular code, it says the result is too large to be displayed, 10,000 log. Its result is too large to be displayed. Even Python could not handle that result raised to 10,000 times. So that's a very large result that we are getting. So have you understood the problem? So sometimes it appears to us that order doesn't matter, but in a lot of codes, the order really matters. Because यहाँ पहले number of years, फिर rate of interest or principal amount नहीं, principal amount पहले. But how is the user going to know in what order we are going to pass the values? It is always very difficult. Even if I had given a call to that function last time, अगली बार मैं भूल जाऊंगा शायद. अरे पहला principal amount pass करना है या number of years pass करना है या rate of interest pass करना है. Very difficult to memorize these things. So what's the solution? Solution to this problem is our next way of giving a call to the function. And let's explore the next way of giving a call to a function. So we saw one type of function call that was positional. Now let's look at the second one, that is keyword. And how does it addresses to this particular problem? Python में इतने सारे तरीके हैं ना कि I haven't seen any other language in which you have so many different ways of passing arguments.
Sir, how many arguments can be passed at a
Any number of arguments depending on how have you designed the function. Now in this case, positional argument में order is also important, count number is also important. Position में 3 बोला है तो 3 ही पास कर पाओगे, 4 बोला है तो 4 ही पास कर पाओगे. We had seen in the last example where I passed one additional argument या one less argument. It said too few या two more. ऐसा error दे रहा था मैं. The first example that I had to print and the message. We couldn't pass 3 arguments because 2 were expected. Neither could we pass 1 argument. याद आ रहा है या दिखाओ वापस. Viraj, the previous example.
सर वहाँ पे 2 मांगा था ना आर्गुमेंट्स.
हाँ तो 2 से ज्यादा नहीं पास कर पा रहे थे, कम भी नहीं कर पा रहे थे.
हाँ सर.
Okay, so exactly 2 arguments should be passed. So let's look at the next one. That's keyword arguments. We can also call function using keyword arguments, passing each argument in the form key and value. That means name and value, name of the argument and the value. So name, value, name of the parameter and the value, name of the parameter and the value. It is possible to mix positional argument with keyword arguments, but positional argument cannot appear after any keyword arguments. Suppose you have a function called as f, which takes p1, p2, p3 as argument. I can pass 30, that's for p1, p2 ke liye 4, p3 ke liye 10. I can pass 30, then I can pass p2, that's 4, but 10 if I pass later, it will generate an error. A positional argument cannot be present after the keyword argument. Keyword mein kya hai? Your parameter name and the value has been given. Okay, after that you cannot pass the position argument. Jaise shift 10 hai, that cannot be passed later. So let's have a look at this particular scenario. Iska ek example lete hain, and that is how we will improve the same previous code. ये जो कोड था हमारा, इसी को हम लोग अभी improve करेंगे. The same code will improve the same code. Blank spaces issue आ रहा है. I wonder how. Why should blank lines create a problem? Okay, now let's run this code from here. Now let's look at the other way in which we should actually be giving a call to this particular function, and that won't create a problem anytime. Here I go. I give a call to this function called as get compound interest. I hear when you pass 2, it gives you some weird result, correct? But I'm still going to say year is equal to. What is year? Year was nothing but name of our parameter called as year. It was a third parameter. Here I'm going to pass it first. That's okay. You give the name of the parameter. Year is equal to principal amount is equal to 1,000, then 1 lakh. Interest is 10%. Perfect. You're all right. So we're saying principal amount, interest rate, and years. So we're just specifying over here the first argument that I'm going to pass is the parameter called as years. The second one I'm going to pass is interest, principal amount. Third is interest rate. Likewise, here later I'm passing year is equal to year. There is a variable called as year that we have defined over here. Principal amount is equal to P amount. That P amount was 10,000 rupees, and interest rate is equal to ROI. ROI was 10%. That's perfect. Year, principal amount, interest rate. You could say interest rate, principal years, and principal amount. Any order is okay. All of them are going to give you the right result. Let's see. It will not fail anywhere. Look at this. First is 2, second is 1 lakh, and third is 10. That doesn't mean principal amount will be 2. Watch it. When I give a call, देखिएगा प्रिंसिपल अमाउंट सही तरीके से 1 लाख आ गया है, इंटरेस्ट रेट 10 आ गया है, और कंपाउंड इंटरेस्ट जो है आपका रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट रेट जो है वो कहा गया, ईयर्स जो है वो 2 आ गया है, ईयर्स एस है, ईयर्स 2 आ चुका है, इंटरेस्ट रेट बराबर 10 आ चुका है, although I had not passed in the same order. And then when we go on to execute, you're going to get the right result irrespective in what order have you passed. देखो ये 21,000 रुपीज आपका इंटरेस्ट है. अगली बार मैंने वापस गलत तरीके से पास कर रहा है ऐसा लग रहा है, बट नो, ऐसे ईयर्स इक्वल टू ईयर, प्रिंसिपल अमाउंट इक्वल टू पी अमाउंट, इंटरेस्ट इक्वल टू आरओआई. दिस ईयर, पी अमाउंट and ROI are local variables. ये जो आपने यहाँ ऊपर 3 variables define किए थे, those variables values are being passed. You still receive those things in a correct fashion. Interest rate वापस 2100 आ रहा है. Next time I pass interest rate, years, principal amount, no worries at all. Correct? It's working right. So this is precisely to be used when your function call has several arguments that are to be passed, and luckily all of them are same type. So in whatever order you pass, your function will not generate an error. It may give you unexpected result, but error generate nahi karega. So to overcome this particular problem, always go ahead with keyword arguments. So specify the first argument जो आप pass करे वो क्या है, second argument that you are passing, what is it, the third argument that you are passing, what is it. It is referring to the years as a first argument, the principal amount as a second parameter, interest rate as a third parameter that is there in your function. Use the name of the parameters that we have defined. ये जो parameters है आपके, इनके जो नाम है वही यहाँ use कर लीजिएगा. Use those names over here to specify the value should be assigned to which parameter in the function definition, and that will resolve the problem for you. So here, while here we got a weird result, these 3 functions have worked out right because what we're using is keyword argument. And every argument that I'm passing, there is a key given. And what is that key? The function parameter is a key. Function parameter is a key. Have you understood this concept? Quick feedback. Okay. So let me share this file with you. Let us also rename that file. There is some issue with that file for some unknown reason. I'll delete that. I'll rename this function by that file name. I will share both these examples with you. Have you seen both the examples?
Yes, sir.
Okay, even in the first example for the simple interest, there is no harm if I use that same technique. Although there it did not really matter in what order you pass. Still, we could pass you could do it in the correct way. So here we had, this was the example, simple interest. So here again, here the order did not really matter. But although the order doesn't matter, it doesn't mind if you pass it as keyword argument. Watch it. I have done it somewhere at the bottom. Here I go. And what am I doing? I'm saying, okay, the next call that I'm giving, I'm going to pass them in the incorrect, so-called incorrect order. I'm passing principal amount, interest rate, and 2. Was that the expected order? Yeah, principal amount, interest, and 2. Okay, that's okay. But here I'm giving keywords. Now I'm going to give out of order. यानी वही pass कर रहा but out of order. कैसे? Interest rate, years, and then principal amount. Perfectly all right. In keyword argument, it is not necessary that the order has to match. The type has to match. The number has to match. There is no worry about the order. अब यहाँ और एक चीज important I forgot. I gave the parameter that's 1000. 1000 becomes the principal amount. That's positional parameter. So I'm using 2 keyword argument followed by a positional argument. Followed by a position argument. So अपना position argument is 1000. Followed by a positional argument. Now, उल्टा लिखना होगा. I'll say positional argument is followed by 2 keyword arguments. Look at this. The positional argument is 1000. And after that, I give keyword argument year and interest rate. That's okay. Year was assigned to this third parameter. Interest rate was assigned. This interest rate was assigned to the second parameter. That will also work. But then, in case if I do something wrong, if I pass the keyword arguments first and the positional argument later, that's something which is not allowed. This generates an error. Watch it. It has generated an error. It has generated error. I cannot have the error since position argument cannot follow keyword argument. So position argument cannot be present after the keyword argument. Other way around is okay. Positional argument first, keyword arguments later. That's perfectly all right. Keyword arguments first, and then last one is the positional argument. That's something which is not possible in Python or not allowed in Python. So that was about the order. Here, let's see this code, this example. Why? Because it's a combination. One argument is passed by parameter and 2 arguments are passed by keyword. Okay, so let's see whether the last output, do we get the last result? I'll directly run this particular code and we got at all places, we got 200. That's a perfect answer to get. Perfect answer to get. Even the last one has worked out right. How many times? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 results. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 results. All the results have worked out right. Have you understood this?
Yes, sir. But instead of assigning it in the function, we can directly pass the keyword.
I didn't get you.
So instead of assigning like principal amount equals to 1000 in the function itself.
No. That's a different concept. That's the next type. But that will not give you, that does not mean you can pass in any order. That's the third different type. It has a different purpose altogether. And that's called as default argument. Okay.
सर अगर 2 पोजिशनल हो गए और एक कीवर्ड होगा तो
चलेगा, but पहले पोजिशनल चाहिए फिर कीवर्ड चाहिए. पहले कीवर्ड एंड देन पोजिशनल इज नॉट अलाउड. दैट्स द ओनली रूल.
बट सर वो ऑर्डर मिसमैच हो सकता है ना?
नहीं होगा, क्यों होगा? 2 पोजिशन की आपकी जिम्मेदारी है, बिकॉज पोजिशनल में ऑर्डर डजंट मैटर.
Okay.
That you will have to take care. Python has no worries about it. Python says your position argument cannot be present after keyword argument. So when you are passing position argument, it is you as a programmer who will have to take care. फिर आपकी जिम्मेदारी हो.
Yes, sir.
So now that you have understood this concept, let's jump on to the next one. So these are simple integration compound interest examples. Let's look at the next one. Look at a simple example. I have a very simple function called as greetings. A very simple function called as greeting. The function takes a name as a first argument and message as a second argument. Both the arguments are of type string and doesn't return anything. A simple function. It's going to greet somebody. So ये मैंने ले लिया है. Here I define and keep this function ready. First time when I give a call to function greetings, I pass Rishi and I pass welcome. They are positional arguments. So luckily I passed it in the right order. It says, watch it over here. It says, hello Rishi, welcome. Very good. I pass Parth and I pass hi. Oh, they are keyword argument. Name is equal to Parth, message is equal to hi. And I run this particular piece of code. It says, hello Parth, hi. Perfect. Since I'm going to use keyword argument once again, the order can change. I say message equal to hi and name equal to path. No worries, because message is the keyword and hi is its value. Name is a keyword, path is a value, but these keywords are matching to the function parameters. So there are no issues. It will work correct. It still says hello path, hi. Okay, it did not generate any error. It still said hello path, hi. The name could have been anything. It could have been Harsh, right? Caps keyword. Harsh. And I'm going to greet to him once again. Even if I run this particular code once again, it says, hello, Harsh, hi. It's working right. Now, suppose I want to run this particular code the next time, and I go on Viraj ko wish karta hu. So I say, greetings, Viraj. Now, moment I do that, I have passed one positional argument. I had two were expected, and aap ek hi pass kar rahe ho. So we are at this particular function. We were expected to pass two arguments, and you are going to pass only one argument. It says error, greetings, one required positional argument message is missing. And आपने name to pass किया, second one is missing. Okay. Next time what I do is I give a call to this function once again and I pass Rahul. I pass one keyword argument. That's okay. अरे but ये जो arguments था, यहाँ दो arguments pass करने आपको. Number is necessary in keyword arguments and in position argument. The number of arguments has to be exactly this correct. Now when I give a call on line number 20, it will still generate the same error. Greetings, message 1, required position argument, message is missing. And if I don't pass any argument, the message will be slightly different, saying 2 arguments missing. Together, greetings, 2 required position arguments, message and name missing. That means the way we have specified over here, these are all required arguments. Both the position arguments are compulsory. We need to call the function with exactly 2 arguments. Both of them are necessary, required arguments. So when we design a function in this fashion, both these arguments are said to be required, compulsory. They're required arguments. So what can we do? Okay, there is another way of designing a function. Let's have a look at it. So I'll keep this thing and let me just introduce to the same function in a different form. And that's the third type that we're going to discuss. That's default argument. Rahul was trying to ask. So I say name is a required argument. Required argument. जैसे ऊपर लिखा है name extra वैसे यहाँ लिखा है. Message is not a required argument. It's an optional argument now. I'll tell you what is optional. Message is an optional argument of type string and it has a message saying greetings of the day. That means while giving a call, if you forget to pass message, the message ka value will be greetings of the day. So that's a default value of an argument called as parameter called as message. In case while giving a call to the function, you fail to pass that argument. So while giving a call to the function, if you fail to pass the message, greetings of the day will now become the default value of this particular parameter called as message. Listen to me very carefully. While giving a call, if you fail to pass this particular argument, message argument, greeting of the day will be the default value for the message argument parameter. Let's do it. So this is a function that we have defined. I'm using formatted string. Let us define this function greet and keep it in the memory. So greet function has been defined. And I say greet Sakshi. So I'm line number 33 and we greet Sakshi. It says, hello Sakshi, welcome. Perfect. Sakshi was the name and welcome was the message. I say name is Ashish and message is suppose, how are you? So I'm going to say, hello Ashish, how are you? So that's my message. We are at this particular line and we want to exit. We are on that particular line, line number 34 pe hum log. Let's run this code. It says, hello Ashish, how are you? Perfect. What have we done? On line number 34, where we are currently, हमने keyword arguments use किए. This is keyword argument and this is, here both the arguments were positional. There I go. Both the arguments are positional. Here, both arguments are keyword. ARGS. Okay, that's the short form. Here again, both arguments are keyword. Order doesn't matter in keyword arguments. Both ARGS are keyword. Therefore, order is immaterial. Order क्या है उससे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है. Now what I do, I say greet and I'm just going to greet Monica and that will fail. So I say line number 36, I'm going to greet Monica M-O-N-I-C. So here I am, and at this line, I run this particular code. It fails. Why it has run? It did not. I passed only one argument, but the one argument that I passed was a message, was the name. So greeting of day has turned out to be the second parameter. Did not fail because the second argument was optional. The first one was compulsory. So I say name path. Okay. Yeah, name Prithviraj. So I'm passing name is Prithviraj. Okay, name is Prithviraj. Second is anyway optional argument. It is not compulsory. So even if I say just greet Monica, yeah, name equal to Prithviraj, both the statements are going to work. It says hello Prithviraj, greeting of the day. Till here, all good. But next what happens is, if I now give a call to this particular function, let me take an incorrect call as well. I'm going to give a call to this function where greet, order doesn't matter. Na? So I'm going to first pass the message. Message is equal to good evening. Okay, but I did not pass name. Name was a required argument and I have not passed it. Message was an optional argument that I'm passing. Name is a required argument which I'm not passing. If I do that, it generates an error. It says greet missing one required position argument, that is name. So name is a required argument, whereas message is a optional argument. Why optional? Because there is a default value. And that's default argument that is there. That means if I, while giving a call, if I forget to pass that particular parameter argument, that particular corresponding parameter in this particular function has a default value. If that this call, these two calls, okay, the second parameter is missing, the second argument is missing, the parameter will be substituted with the default value. These two calls are important. Default argument used for second parameter, default argument used for the second argument. Default argument used for the second argument. Okay, whereas in rest of the things it has long drawn. Okay, so message is an optional argument. You pass, don't worry. If I pass greet without any parameter, see how many errors generated. It says required a key missing, name missing. It did not say message is missing because message is an optional parameter which is there. So that's the concept of default parameters. Let's just go through it once. For some function, you may want to make a parameter optional. So it's not compulsory for you to pass the argument to that particular parameter. So some parameters are optional and use default values in case user does not want to provide values for them. So if the user doesn't supply the argument for that particular parameter, in that case, it doesn't generate error, rather it uses the default value. You can specify default argument values for a parameter by appending the parameter name in the function definition and the assignment equal to followed by the default value. Look at this function call. How did we do that? The parameter name and then optional str likhna, but then equal to the default, equal to the value. So here I said equal to and I've given the value. Equal to and the value has been given. So that's the default concept which is there. Note that the default argument value should be a constant. That means वहाँ variable नहीं चाहिए, वहाँ default value चाहिए. And this is the example that we have taken. Have you understood this concept, everyone? Have you understood the purpose of this concept? It will be important. It gives an opportunity to design a function where you can have some arguments which are required, compulsory to be passed. They are positional argument, and some arguments which are optional. Okay, some parameters which are optional. Positional नहीं कहेंगे, the regular arguments हैं, and some arguments which are optional, parameters which are optional, which have default values. So our arguments, function parameters which have default values supplied are all optional. Parameters which do not have a default value are required arguments. So in this case, name was required, message was optional argument. Yes, everybody. Go out, anybody? Any questions?
No, sir.
Let me share this example with you all. Default. Have you received this example?
Yes, sir.
But I haven't yet finished with this. Okay. So let's play around with that particular function. There is a lot to be done. More, let's play around. Now there are some rules which are there. When it came to when it came to the keyword argument and position argument, what was the rule?
Order.
What was the order?
Sir, the string. No.
Yes, what is the rule when it came to a function having default arguments, a function having keyword arguments and position arguments? नोट करके नहीं रखोगे तो मुश्किल हो जाएगा.
Compatible type.
नहीं, that is
सर
anyway.
जैसे फंक्शन हेडर में जिस ऑर्डर में पैरामीटर डिफाइन है उनका डेटा टाइप डिफाइंड है और उनकी कंपैटिबिलिटी तीनों लगते हैं पोजिशनल आर्गुमेंट्स.
आप मेरा क्वेश्चन नहीं सुन रहे. In the context of default, in the context of keyword and position argument, एक कोई रूल बताया था थोड़ी देर पहले.
क्या बताया था सर?
In the context of positional and keyword argument, there is a rule that I specified in the context of both these two arguments. Keyword and positional के बारे में बताया.
Sir, the positional should be at the beginning. And
That means the positional argument cannot be after the keyword argument.
yes.
The keyword arguments, that's correct. The keyword arguments can follow the positional, but positional cannot follow the keyword arguments. Correct? So likewise, default argument के लिए भी एक rule है. And what is that rule? Let's check it out. The rule says positional, that is required argument, cannot follow the default arguments. यानी ऐसा नहीं कर सकते आप कोई function define कर लिया आपने ऐसे. Here we have two arguments. ये title है, which is पास लिख देता हूँ. A title है, which is optional argument. Then you have position argument, and then you again have an optional argument, default value. That cannot be the case. It will generate an error. Non-default argument follows default argument. So ये आपका non-default argument, that's positional, that follows the default argument. That's something which is not allowed. So that's the rule. It generates an error. It generates an error. Now look at this. I have title, that is miss, name, that is none. If you don't want to pass anything, say none. Say pass something. So in this case, this function has all arguments which are optional, because if you don't pass name, it will take it as none. Then I say message string is equal to good morning, the function returns none. Let's start. So let's define and keep this function ready. Function ready. So I'm at line number 48. I say Mr. Rohit, welcome. So Mr. becomes the title, Rohit becomes the name, and welcome becomes the message. And since that's the case, it will give you the right result. It says, hello, Mr. Rohit, welcome. I'm at line number 49 now. I pass Mr. and Rohit. So Mr. becomes the title, Rohit becomes the name, and it will still work. It says, hello, Rohit, good morning. I only pass the third argument, first argument, argument, that is the title. That's perfect. आपने एक पास किया तो नेम मगर नन है तो बोलेगा हेलो मिस्टर नन गुड मॉर्निंग. तो यहाँ हुआ क्या है, मिस्टर वाज द आर्गुमेंट दैट यू आर पासिंग दैट आर असाइन्ड टू टाइटल. Name was optional because if you don't pass anything, it's going to take it none. Message was optional. If you don't pass anything, it's going to take it good morning. So it says hello Mr. None, good morning. Oh, I don't pass anything at all. That's also perfectly all right. It says hello Miss None, good morning. And how did miss happen? If I don't pass the title, the default value for the title is miss. If I don't pass the message, default value is good morning. If I don't pass the name, it is none. So that's the reason it says hello Miss None, good morning. Oh, I pass name equal to Jui. I only pass one argument, optional or keyword argument, that Jui. I did not pass the title and message. Oh, both of them are optional. Rather, all of them are optional. So it's the number doesn't matter over here. The order doesn't matter. The number doesn't matter if I'm using keyword argument and where all the arguments were optional. Okay, now if I run this particular code, it says, hello, Miss Jui, good morning. So it has worked out right for us. The rule kya hai? Positional, that is required argument. So in this case, name was a required argument. Cannot follow default arguments. Title and message were default arguments. So when you have designed a function where all the parameters are having default value, then while giving a call, you may not pass anything. That's perfectly all right. Line number 51 पे थे हम लोग और कुछ भी नहीं पास किया था. Hello, Miss None. Good morning. How did we get Miss? That's a default value for the title. How did we get Miss None? None is a default value for name, and good morning was a default value for the message. So that was that rule that we have to keep in mind. So now in the next example, I define a function greet, name miss hai, name str is equal to none, hello title, it's the same code, या कुछ अलग लिखा है? No, it's the same code. गलती से दोबारा लिखा है क्या? It's the same thing. So let me go deleting it. This is a very interesting example that is there. I have a function called as send mail. So remember, when you send a mail to somebody, तो अगर आप यहाँ जाते हो, mail send कर रहे किसी को, look at this. Suppose I'm going to send a mail to you, and I'm composing a new message. मैंने to ही नहीं लिखा, मैंने भले यार subject दिया हो, या मेरा message भी दिया हो. I say greetings, and I say, hello, Mr. X, how are you? सब कुछ कहा. And if I want to go say send, ये कहता है नहीं यार, we need to know who this message should be sent. यानी आपको ये to देना compulsory है, whom you would like to send this particular message to. आप CC courtesy copy दो या ना दो, that's okay. आप आगे BCC दो या ना दो, that's also okay. कहा गया BCC send compose कर रहे हैं, insert signature कहा गया BCC. CC आ गया. Okay. Options. BCC. Now, to is compulsory. So if I have to send a message, I have to specify to whom I want to send a message. Or should I send a message to me? Maybe anyway, I send a message to somebody else, sas_@yahoo.com. So I'm sending message to somebody. I don't send CC. CC is like courtesy copy. The copy of this message will be sent to maybe @gmail.com. That's anyway. BCC is a copy that will be sent to a person, but the person to whom I have sent the mail, Prithvi, he will not be in a position to know who was the other person to whom I have sent the mail. So if I say monica@impedisits.in, that's our third person. So Prithvi will feel this message, I have sent it to him only alone. Okay. So I say this is a very confidential message. Yes, a message there. So I have passed a message and I send this message. Message has been sent. Okay, message has been sent. So if Monica sees it, if Prithviraj opens his mail ID, so in that case, he will not be in a position to know that the message was sent to Monica, that he will not know. So यानी BCC optional है, CC courtesy copy, that is also optional. Okay, I did not send it to BCC ना. अच्छा मैंने सिर्फ to और CC भेजा या BCC भेजा. What did I do?
भेजा सर.
तीनों बार डाला मैंने to CC and BCC.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
अच्छा, 2 was H_Pisar, CC was Prithviraj, and BCC was Monica. So when I say 2 knows that the message was also sent to CC, that is Prithviraj. But 2 and CC, both of them do not know that a copy of that was also sent to somebody else. यानी ये मगर CC भेजना कोई कंपलसरी नहीं है, BCC भेजना कोई कंपलसरी नहीं है, but 2 भेजना कंपलसरी है. And message भी भेजना है. So if I'm sending a message and the person to who would like to send a mail, that's compulsory. The other 2 things are optional. So we are designing such a function. Later we'll see how to send mails through Python as well. Python से भी हम लोग message भेज सकते हैं. We can create our own mailing application. So that function is ready. Now I say, please report on time. And that message I send to MS. Okay. So MS is somebody amongst us. So I say, please report on time. So then the first one is please report on time. That's the message. ms@gmail.com, that's 2. यानी दोनों required arguments आप pass कर रहे हो. So both of these are required arguments which you are correctly passing. So it says sending message, please report on time to ms@gmail.com. Next time what do? I send another message. Okay. तो ये HB को message भेजा. Okay, please report on time. And इसकी CC we are kept to MS. So we say please report on time hb@gmail.com. CC में कौन है तो ms@me.com जो भी रहेगा. ये 2 है. So I send this particular message. So in this case, sending message, please report on time to hb@gmail.com. ms@me.com is informed about this particular message. MACC courtesy copy आपने भेजी है. But third, what I do is I pass the message, the fellow whom I would like to send this particular message. CC मैंने भेजा है प्राज को और BCC मैंने भेजा है समझो ANI को. सारे arguments pass कर रहा हूँ मैं, all the 3 arguments. Now if I give a call, it says sending message, please report on time to kjadhav@gmail.com. Praj@me.com is informed about the message so and so. ANI@gmail.com is also informed about the message, please report on time. But this reporting was not known to the others. But then we have passed all the messages. I just passed send message, no arguments. It would fail. कहता है 2 positional arguments which are compulsory. Message और किसको भेजना है वो compulsory है. CC और BCC भेजना optional है. Your positional arguments can be followed by keyword arguments or the default arguments. These are not keyword, these are default arguments that can be there. But other way around is not possible. Okay. You cannot have default arguments first followed by positional, the required arguments. So 2 required argument message and 2 positional optional argument, that is CC and BCC. ये 2 optional है और 2 required argument है. 2 required argument है. तो it generate error. क्या error दे रहा है देखो? I'm seeing 2 required positional argument. 2 required positional argument. 2 optional arguments with default value. 2 optional arguments with default value. So the optional arguments with default value and so on. I understood this concept. Quick feedback, everybody. I understood this. Ruturaj? Monica?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Monica is in the mood of singing today. ESB Gaana ke bata rahi hai. Okay, let's have this function now. One more example. I have function bar which takes 1 required argument, 2 optional argument. It has a tuple. So if I give a call, if I define this particular function, if I say hi, oh, that's the first required argument that you're passing, so no worries. You get the hi 3,4. 3,4 आपका एक tuple है. So आपका default
Sir,
value
I
कुछ भी हो
think you
सकता
are not sharing the screen.
है. Am I not sharing the screen?
Yes, the screen is not.
I don't have a mouse today, so it's so painful today, and I hardly use the laptop. I have kept a laptop on my pad and the screen in front, so this is very irritating way to take a session. Here we go. So I have a function called as bar. 1 is the required argument, 2 is the optional argument. It has a default value 3,4. 3,4 is a tuple. The point is the default value can be anything. So now we give a call on line number 79 to this function bar. It works correctly. It says hi 3,4. If I say hi and bye, that's perfect. Hi is the first argument and bye is the second one. So it will say hi bye, whatever it is. And I don't see the reason to discuss this. This has nothing to do with it. Maybe I was explaining something to somebody. Oh, this is important. I have a function called as other dummy, and I have a function called as dummy. Okay. Here we said, let me comment it out ताकि मैं अगली बार भूल ना जाऊं. This was also important. I just forgot. I delete कर दिया था because comments were not written. So let me explain over here. Let me write the comment. The purpose of this example. The default value of a parameter can be of any type. तो यहाँ टपल दे रहे हैं. पहली बार सारी जगह स्ट्रिंग या इंटीजर दिया था, तो यहाँ डिफॉल्ट वैल्यू अभी टपल है. That's perfectly all right. Okay. Can be of any type. Including compound type like tuple. कुछ भी हो सकता है. Tuple list कुछ भी हो सकता है. This is interesting. Don't run away. ये important है. Then say the default value of a parameter can be a function call as well. So I'm defining a function called as dummy, which takes a single parameter. And if you don't pass a value, it can have a value which is a call to another function. Other dummy is a function which has a list. It prints I am in and returns my list. So the parameter over here can be a list as well. And then I print that particular list which has been returned. So let us keep this thing ready. And let's call this function dummy. So when I call this function dummy and if I pass a list, okay, so here the single parameter is applied. List is supplied as a single argument. तो आपने एक list as a single argument पास किया, that will receive the parameter. List की values print हो जाएंगे. It is printed. Anything that is iterable. Okay. In the second case, I don't pass anything. This is more interesting. I would rather debug it from here. तो यहाँ से debug करते हैं ताकि आपको समझ में आए यहाँ हो क्या रहा है. Let's debug from here if we can. Line number कौन से पे issue है? Greeting Viraj. ये गलत था. ये सारे कमेंट आउट करने होंगे for me to run that code. Greet line number 38. Line number 39. Line number 71. Here. Now watch this call. It's the most interesting discussion for today's session. I give a call to dummy. Now, the moment I give a call to dummy, we come over here. But the default value for this particular parameter is क्या है देखो तो. Param में there is a list 12, 34, 5 and 14, 44. कहाँ से है? Because over here the other dummy was given a call. The other dummy was given a call, and these are the values that have now been returned. यहाँ से values return किया गया है, and those values are going to get printed. So can we debug that particular code? Let's see. Let's try once again. There is a way to see that. Let me just debug the code once again. We are a dummy, and I give a call to this particular function, dummy. But when I give a call to the function dummy, param में दिखेगा 12, 34, 5, 44. और यहाँ आप देखोगे कहीं तो I am in भी print किया इसने. It's already printed I am in. Can you see that? I am in. Now when this got printed, that's also something that we should really understand. Let me stop this. Let me keep these two functions ready. ये दो ready है define करके हुए. I give a call to this particular function. Here the dummy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And when I give a call to this dummy, line number 95 वाला dummy को call करता हूँ. कहता है 12, 34, 5 and 44. What's happening here? Line number 95. Line number 95, when we give a call, we did not pass any argument. Since we are not passing any argument, other dummy is called. Other dummy has a list which says I'm in. Which says I'm in. Can you see this? I'm in at the top. Which says I'm in. यानी when I'm defining ये जब मैं ready कर रहा हूँ ना, I'm in तभी आ रहा है. Can you see that? I'm in. So default value is already been substituted here. आपको लग रहा है कि हाँ function call है. There is no such function call. Okay. ये 12, 34, 5, 6 is already been put over here as a list. So default value of a parameter can be a function call as well. Okay. So if you miss out the parameter, you have to pass a list. अगर आप भूल गए तो ये other dummy function gets called that returns a list, and that list has got printed over here. Dummy. So that's also something which is possible. Let's make use of this particular concept. How? Look at, I am saying import time. We have a module called as time. In between, I will be talking about this time just to understand this concept. I say get date is a function. What does this get date function do? It says time.local time, and then it returns a ASCII time. ASCII time is like the printable format for the time. So here I go. So if I say get date, get underscore date, watch what happens. Get underscore date. It says Monday, July 31st, 9:56 and 43 seconds, 2023. It has printed the ASCII time. If I had said import time and time dot local time, that's too much of information, isn't it? हमें नहीं चाहिए इतना सारा information. ये बता रहा आपको year कौन सा है, month कौन सा है, month का day कौन सा है, month का hour कौन सा है, minute कौन सा है, second कौन सा है, weekday, month का weekday, year का day कौन सा है, ये साल का 212वां दिन है. And IDST, I don't remember what is IDST. Is day and night time saving. Saving time hai kya? Nahi. In India, we don't have day and night time saving. There's so much information that is there. I don't want all this thing. So what we can do is this local time that we have, ये local time जो function है, वो जो local time return करेगा, that we pass to a function called ASCII time, that gives a much more readable formatted time for the purpose of printing. So if I say E is equal to time dot local time. If I print T, it's terrifying. So what I can do is I can just say time dot ASC time, and I pass the local time. It's much more readable format. So I got the time. So that's the function. So what does get time from get function does? It gives you today's date and time. It gives you today's date and time. So what do I have? I have a function called as get time. And my time अगर आप देते हो तो ठीक है. अगर आपने नहीं दिया, will take the date. यानी ये वाला date and time वाला time ले लेगा. ASCII time ले लेगा. Okay, yeah, time. Monday so and so it will give you that particular time. So that's a new function that we have defined, get time. So if I have to call this function get time, there are two ways. I can say get underscore time and you pass today's time, whatever time you like to pass. So मैंने कहा today's time is suppose sometime 21 and 34. If you pass this, it'll print 21 and 34. That's fine. But if you don't pass anything, that's also fine. So in that case, what happens is if you don't pass the time, आपका time आपने नहीं pass किया, we'll call date time function and returns the ASCII time, and that time will get printed. Your choice. So parameter to a function, a parameter of a function can have default value that can be a call to another function as well. That can be called to another function as well. So that's something which is very, very powerful when it comes to Python. Coffee powerful concept. You understood this. what I'm going to do is I'm just going to share this example with you all so that you have it for your reference. But have you completed the concept of function calls? We are not yet completed the call. There are some more rules which are there, and there are some advanced concept about arbitrary number of arguments. So those advanced concept of arbitrary number of arguments, and again the positional only arguments. So those things, and keyword only arguments. Now we saw keyword arguments, we saw positional arguments, all those things we have seen today. But I can design a function where I say, okay, you have to pass only positional argument. I can define a function where I say you have to pass only keyword arguments. I can design a function where I can say, oh, you may pass any number of arguments, aapki marzi. Any number of arguments. So those are the advanced features that I'll take up tomorrow. Make sure that you go through this. Those who are not there for the last 2 sessions, watch those videos, also complete the assignment and be ready for the next session. Okay, so I want you all to complete the assignment before you come down for tomorrow's session. It's a simple assignment which is there. You can watch the videos as well and make sure that you complete those assignments. For any help, you can go to Turtle documentation. A lot of information is given over there. So on that note, we'll stop over here today. Thank you very much for the session. Take care. Love you all. Bye-bye. If you have any questions, please ask.
Thank
Any
you, sir.
questions? Good night. Any questions, anybody? All right.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.